Copyright disclaimer.
I'll be starting this without spoilers. I will tell you when I start getting into spoilers. And I mean real spoilers. Things you wouldn't know from marketing or the synopsis. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Bill. I've been digging them. You guys like these? I finally saw Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, part 2 of the Spider-Verse trilogy. Something even I forgot, part 1 of a 2-part part of the trilogy, a 3-part in total. They really slap you with that to be continued. I got a little mad. Remember that, I guess, would be my biggest tip. Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third part of this trilogy is part 2 of Across the Spider-Verse, and it's dropping as of right now in March. I'm just going to be talking about the movie, like I said, spoiler-free, into the spoilers, and then beyond the spoilers. Theories and thoughts, my breakdown, things like that along the way. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, blah, 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 YouTube words. Across the Spider-Verse takes place a year and some change after Into the Spider-Verse. Despite recovering from being separated from Gwen and Peter B. Parker and the rest of the Spider team, he's coming into his own as Spider-Man. He's currently being accelerated into the collegiate classes, figuring out where he wants to go to school, what he wants to major in. Pretty traditional gifted child things, right? Let's start thinking about this now while you're 15 and you don't even have your driver's license yet. I kind of like that element. Kind of feeds into the overall themes of the movie to have him sort of accelerated into major life choices early on like this. He's proven that he's starting to get really good at being Spider-Man. It just takes up a lot of his time. Sort of the duality that's always been there with Spider-Man. Balancing Miles Morales and Spider-Man is proving to be the difficult task here. The visuals, the art style, everything has been cranked up to 100. Anything from the on-screen onomatopoeias, the whaps and pows, the different visuals that we get to see, the different universes, environments. It's gorgeous. It took literally 1,000 artists. Stay through the credits out of respect. Everything is once again visually interesting. The detailing and the individuality of not only our animation and art style shifts from different perspectives as well as universes, it's incredibly captivating. Now the story is so dense and there's so many characters that keep getting added and added to the Spider-Verse roster, not only in the background but also in the supporting cast. It gets delightfully chaotic is how I like to describe it, because it feels like real life. It's like the history of all these characters. Whenever they meet, they collide and clash and go into different directions. It's so interesting. You will not be able to fully watch this movie the first time you see it, or the first couple of times you see it. I can't wait to watch this in a controlled environment at home. It's beautiful to see the spectacle up on the big screen. Do that if you want to. I've never so badly wanted to be able to watch this again in a controlled environment at home. There's gonna be so many details that I missed, so many spider people that I've missed. I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments. It's super fun to read the comments, and it's also going to help me gauge if you guys want more Spider-Verse or Spider-Man content from me, or just more movies in general. We've all been waiting so long for this movie, and it holds up. It's stunning visually. It has so much heart and fun. It really does a masterful job at literally redirecting your emotions when it wants you to feel a certain way. Before I get into light spoilers, the Spider-Verse, here's a bunch of spider people moments, feels the most fun in the trailer. It is the most chaotic, overwhelming part of the movie, and it wants you to feel that. Miles is dealing with or running into or interacting with or trying to gauge the energies of all these different spider people, and as we see in the trailer, a conflict of sorts, right? The fun of, haha, look, it's a kitty Spider-Man, doesn't undercut the chaos of, I don't want kitty Spider-Man to catch Miles right now or to stop Miles. Like, there's something so masterfully done where you'd think it would be distracting to see all the different spider people all about. It adds to that tension so well because it's so overwhelming. We see a lot of new characters. We get to know a different supporting cast. There's tons of cameos and lore Easter eggs. However, you could remove all those things and Across the Spider-Verse would still be this incredibly detailed, engaging story, just like Into the Spider-Verse, on not only our characters, but the entire mythos of Spider-Man. In this world of cinematic universes and timelines, and even in the world of comics with the different realities, the different canons, the different universes, there's a set guideline that has to be established for this to feel like a Spider-Man story, right? It feels almost like Spider-Verse took the cliff notes of what you need to do to like meet the standards of a traditional Spider-Man story and just went, we're gonna have it be about examining that. It also kind of got me to re-examine how I approach media, specifically with the villains. Here's the part to be concerned about spoilers, I guess. I don't know. It's captivating how this became equal parts Miles and Gwen's story. Spider-Gwen takes a huge step forward in the spotlight here. That's the whole first 15 or 20 minutes of the movie is telling us how Gwen got from bye Miles to hey Miles, you want to hang out real quick? I just entered the ceiling of your bedroom. There's something clearly happened there between bye and hello again. Hello there. We see Gwen's side of things. We see that Gwen is also trying to recover from, after feeling so seen and understood in a group full of spider people, as well as her connection to Miles. We see her returning back to her life, kind of doubling down on the isolation. People don't really understand me. Again, that juggle, that balance that Miles is currently struggling with as well, to be who you are and Spider-Man at the same time. And when we see Gwen's point of view, she's our narrator. She wants to start this story a little differently. The perspective shifts. Instead of I'm Miles Morales and I was bit by a spider, this is Miles, he was bitten by a spider. And as that perspective shifts, we start to see Gwen's art style for her universe. It's like the backgrounds are like abstract watercolor and it plays visually beautifully. There's a lot of blues to let us know like the melancholy, the depressive moments or episodes that characters might have. It shows pain, it shows sadness, it shows shimmers of like yellow and gold and like pinks to like give a little bit of hope or like the fleeting whisper of a good feeling or a good memory. And then there's an expansion on Gwen's story and the one that was mentioned in Into the Spider-Verse with her Peter Parker being the lizard. I almost said scales on his tits. He's got like scales on his body. We get more on that. They were supposed to go to prom together. They were like best friends. You see a montage of Peter and Gwen's family eating all these different like meals together, holding hands in prayer. Like they're clearly very close. It really sets you up for the reality that Peter's death affected not only Gwen, but Gwen's father, who blames Spider-Woman. That in and of itself could be a whole Spider-Man movie. And it really should have been, like all things considered with how long this took, it would have been great to have gotten a Gwen movie. We get to see Gwen now on her own. She's isolating herself from her father. She's isolating herself from her friends. She quits her band. They want to be a band. They want to socialize. Gwen's just steamrolling her way through practice. She wants to, it's not even music to her, it's noise. And the score in this movie is gorgeous. Like that is Oscar worthy. This music is just noise to her. She wants to fill the void. We then see her as Spider-Woman fight the Vulture, but it's a Vulture from a different dimension. The Collider explosion and the events that took place in Into the Spider-Verse had more consequences than we saw. It left little holes all over the place for people to fall from, and a Vulture from the Renaissance era falls into Gwen's universe. He's speaking Italian. He's also confused, but knows when someone's trying to fight him. Like, it almost feels like some of these villains are just destined to clash with the first spider person that they see. He's like on paper and he's done with like rough sketches, and all of his tech like involves like this like steampunky Beyblade let it rip to make something activate. It's so engaging and cool. You can see sketch notes and outlines from like Da Vinci like painting like the anatomy of man or whatever it's called. I don't remember. Not only is that a visual treat in and of itself, but to set you up for the story, he literally doesn't belong in there. He's made with paper. Like it's so cool how much it clashes. It's so cool. I wish I could watch it again. However, she is also out of her element. The Vulture is also glitching. Enter the Spider Interdimensional Task Force. I like calling them the Spider Task Force because a team sounds fun. A task force sounds like a job. Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Woman, they're both incredibly interesting visually. I love how they don't waste a single opportunity to showcase something that's existed that's different or create something of their own that's different. This Spider-Woman, she's pregnant, and I don't think we ever found out what happened there. That's for later. That's for the theories. She casts her webs through her fingers, and there was something so exciting about that and a little terrifying. Whether that's genetic and she has Tobey Maguire fingies. Tobey Maguire fingies is a weird, sorry. Or they're 10 individual little web shooters out of her fingertips. Like it's so cool to see. And then we have Spider-Man 2099, who's captivated my imagination since I was 6 years old, going through my stepdad's comics when I was a little kid. And I saw him, and it was a picture of him with his like jet feet, which they don't have in this movie. And that's one of my few complaints, is there's no Spider-Man 2099 jet feet in this. Hashtag Spider-Verse show jet feet. I remember just going, he has jet feet. He's just so like muscular and opposing. His suit is mysterious. It has like a techno Venom-esque quality to it, which is another weird theory that I have. We see how powerful they are, how strong they are. They've clearly seen this a lot more times than Gwen has. However, Gwen also proves herself saving civilians and helping them capture Renaissance Vulture. Gwen's dad gets the drop on Spider-Woman. She reveals herself to be Spider-Woman, wants her arrested for the murder of Peter Parker. And then she gets recruited to join this task force. And that's how she gets the interdimensional watch. And that's how she went to go see Miles. Miles, on the other hand, has been busy learning how to be a person. Miles is late for some sort of prep for college, early college level classes he can take. His mom doesn't want him to go to college too far away and already starting that. And it's not only understandable in general, but understandable because he's still 15. Again, he's being accelerated into these not only amazing opportunities, but huge decisions. And it's clear that not only maybe he should be taking a little bit of a break, but maybe his parents too. Enjoy the time while he's here. You're giving yourself an empty nest syndrome sooner. It's so fascinating to see that, as well as the comedy between all of them. Like, I love the performances in this movie. The three of them, Miles, his mom, and his dad, Mr. and Mrs. Morales, they don't like being called by their first names. That's too familiar for them. At least not by strangers or by kids. You just sit there hearing like the three of them being like awkward, talking fast, emotional, invested. All three of them bounce off each other so nicely. However, right now it's just two. Miles is too busy fighting the Spot, the Thanos of this cinematic trilogy. Like, the Spot is maddening. They set us up for the Spot to be mishandled and undervalued and underappreciated and belittled from the trailers. What are you, a Dalmatian or a cow? Bread falls out of his tummy. It sets you up for him to be like the butt of the joke. He's just this sad former scientist. He worked on the Collider with Liv. He was working for Kingpin. He was the one who brought the spider from Earth 42, where it eventually bit Miles. And he talks about this in such a grand way, like, I created you, and when you destroyed the Collider, you created me. I'm your nemesis. Like, I'm your greatest villain. Like, we are destined to fight. And Miles is just making fun of him, and it blows my mind how like downplayed this poor man is. Like, this isn't a suit, this is his skin. Miles webs him up, puts him in a timeout in a sense. Hey, can somebody call 911 and deal with that? I gotta do a thing. The Spot escapes, and Miles has to go after him again and be Spider-Man again, and suddenly the quips are starting to like hurt his feelings in a sense. Like, he's a very chaotic and sensitive man, rambling about theories and obsessed with holes. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I think there's something so relatable about him. And he even says, like, dude, my family can't look at me. I have no face. I can't hold things for very long. I can't hold my job. And he's like, I chose to steal from an ATM because that's not the same as stealing from the store. Boy, howdy, if only there was some sort of multi-dimensional task force that could help people in that kind of predicament. Just a theory for later. There's something so captivating about the Spot. As he grows and amasses more power, he becomes more and more engulfed in the spots. At first, he's white base with like the black, they're like cell shady almost looking. He finds a way to travel to different multiverses with different colliders, and he's just gonna keep feeding and feeding. He's running out of spots and he needs more. He kind of gets trapped within himself, learns how to do his own multi-dimensional travel. He goes into the Venomverse, which I'm not a fan of those movies. Still cool that they did that, acknowledging more live action stuff, as this movie constantly does. Donald Glover, Prowler, do it, cowards. We see him run into live action, we see him run into Lego, but we see him start to gather more and more power, and suddenly he goes from Dalmatian / cow, silly sad man to this terrifying, blended, bleeding, like it feels like someone like spilled ink, you know, like what's it called? That type of ink, acrylic paint. It still has its like physical mass separate from the canvas, but it's still like bleeding in. And so like scary and interesting and cool about looking at that. And suddenly he's the most threatening thing other than vampire Oscar Isaacs. Spider-Man 2099. My notes don't make sense. I had to take them at home, so I'm sorry if this is all over the place. But end of the day, the Spot created Miles Morales, brought the spider here, yet he is not answering in any shape or form from the task force side of things for what he's done. It's Miles's fault. I really hope we get to expand on these points, because right now it feels like either setup or holes, spots. It feels like setup for mysteries to be solved later, pieces to connect when we get all three films. After having a couple of months of not traumatic experiences with her dad, Gwen showed up. She has been a part of this task force. She's been learning as she goes and making friends and meeting different spider people and looking up to Spider-Woman, the motorcycle one who was pregnant at the beginning, who I don't think is pregnant at the end, and that still worries and concerns me. It seems like spider people need to go through a lot of pain and trauma, according to Oscar Isaac's Spider-Man. Yeah. So Gwen shows up, like she did at the end of Into the Spider-Verse. Let's hang out. I missed you. Haha, you draw me a lot, teehee. They're swinging around, they're doing like tricks and showing off. How good are you at being Spider-Man? Fun things like that. You could see Miles is like struggling to keep up, but also kind of taking notes and learning a couple things as he goes. It's a lot of cool fun and games, but oh, Gwen has to stop and plant a camera somewhere without Miles seeing. And all this is going on while Miles's dad is celebrating his promotion to captain of the police precinct that he works at. He was already a cop in the first one. He moved up from lieutenant to captain. Miles wasn't there in time for his toast, and it was embarrassing for him to say, I do all this for my son, and his son wasn't there. He was supposed to bring cake. The cake is a lie. It got messed up. There's already a lot of tension there in the family. They know something's up. Again, the Spider-Man the Spider-Man duality problem. Miles had a beautiful heart-to-heart with his mom as Miles. When you go to these fancy places and face these potentially amazing opportunities, never let them tell you you don't belong, which is beautifully charged. As Spider-Man, he has a beautiful heart-to-heart with his dad, just like the end of Into the Spider-Verse, talking in like a lower voice about Spider-Man stuff. And it's very funny. You get the impression that they've been kind of buddy cops for the last year. Everything going okay at home there, Chief? And like kind of talking about it. And it's like, it feels just therapeutic. It showcases pretty early how he doesn't have a complete relationship as Spider-Man or Miles with either parent. Child of multiple divorces, I find that fascinating. During all this awkwardness, it blows up at Mr. Morales' promotion party. Miles ditches to go be Spider-Man with Gwen. They even come back to the party and she meets his parents, and it's kind of, Gwen works for the Interdimensional Task Force. She needs to bring in the Spot. You get the idea that because she's new to the task force and she's kind of on the lower entry level, Spider-Woman's kind of disappointed in her a little bit, or like, maybe you weren't ready for this yet. No, I got this. I clearly look up to you and your opinion means a lot to me. Also, if she's cut from the task force, she'll just be sent home to a reality where her dad wants to arrest Spider-Woman and now knows that she's Spider-Woman. There's a lot of fear there. She essentially ran away from home because her dad wanted to still arrest Spider-Woman, knowing that it's his daughter. Allegorically, it says a lot of things. There's always sort of been a double life, coming out, hiding a part of yourself allegory that's always existed in superheroes and comic books, in my opinion at least, and I'm just one person. Spider-Verse really touches that pulse in a very interesting way, in a way that it wants to, I think, celebrate that nuance that's always been in comics. You know, Spider-Man is politics in the house, right? The way that you're responding asserts a pattern of behavior that then would make someone in a fragile position assume that you would be just as hostile to them. Gwen is afraid to come out as Spider-Man because of how her dad treats and views Spider-Man and how he expresses these views, and now he's being confronted with them in his day-to-day life, in his family, in his child. There's a lot of pain there. The stakes are so high. I'm scared to go home because I've been rejected by my only family. It does a really good job at illustrating that. I'm really glad that we explore that. There's a very beautiful, profound lesson to be had there about how we present ourselves, and what if the spider person that you're yelling at your TV about or calling a menace is somebody in the room with you right now that you love. I want more from that. I don't want it to be treated as a novelty, and I don't feel like it was. That's just me. Links in the description. Anyway. Going back to the task force, though, it's that little moment of like, I can't go back home, and that kind of being used against her, because it's not even like Spider-Woman or even 2099, Miguel says like, we won't send you home, we'll just have you do clerical work at the office. Like, no one fights her on that point. But anyway, we suddenly learn as Gwen is leaving to chase after the Spot that she's not to be talking to Miles at all. Tell me you didn't talk to him. You know you can't. And then Miles goes into the portal with her, and then suddenly we're in, oh, I'm not gonna say it right, I'm trying to remember, it's Mumbai and Manhattan combined, and we run into Spider-Man India. There's like a whole different like color palette. There's things written in, I hope my notes were right, the onomatopoeias are written in Hindi. There's so much about like the energy's different, the score matches this universe, and he just has this like great life. His powers are amazing, he's in great shape, he barely even works out because he doesn't need to. He doesn't put anything in his hair because he doesn't need to. One of the greatest foreshadowings that's like, it's so underdelivered by like this beautiful performance, but like this high energy, like, hey, and then you kind of realize after thinking about it for a second, and I noticed it right before we had this revelation. Oh, I thought Spider-Man was supposed to always be met with tragedy. He hasn't had his tragic moment yet. The driving force of the whole film, the canon that must be served, the moments that have to happen. He's about to meet his tragedy that day, and that's the problem. I'm missing some of the specifics, so forgive me. The Spot crushed part of Mumbai, Manhattan. They're evacuating people from buildings. It's this amazing heroic scene. We get to see a lot more spider people like engage with each other. Freaking Spider-Punk shows up, who's my favorite. I was so nervous when they introduced him because in the trailer, I'm like, Spider-Punk wouldn't join a league, not easily, not willingly. That's the whole point of Spider-Punk, is he wouldn't do that. But I'm like, let's see. But we get to see new spider people. We get to see them band together, and I like how clunky and awkward it is. They don't know each other's powers, except for Spider-Punk. It's a weird theory. I want to save my weird theories for later, but Spider-Punk introduces Miles to the concept of, dude, stop using your fingertips for your venom shock. Use your palms. Most spider people are genius. He could have one of Miles's powers. He could be a way to showcase in Beyond the Spider-Verse that Miles does belong here. Because I think the kid that was supposed to be bit by the 42 spider, I'm pretty sure it was a kid with braids, and we see a kid at the end of the movie with braids. We'll get there. But I wonder if he has venom shock. I thought that's what it was implying. Could also just be simple science. Tips will only do so much power. This will do more. It could be that simple. Oh, he's so funny and he's so cool, and his design, like all the rough cutout paper to like surrounding like his guitar, the frame rate that he moves at is different. He could know something about Miles or anomalies, or he could also be an anomaly. Because I think if I remember correctly, he wasn't bitten by a spider. Spider-Punk is like a radioactive waste, like contamination from a company, something. Hard to focus. Anyway, Spider-Man India is about to like get his tragedy. Suddenly a Canon event alert goes off. We need to let this bad thing happen. Miles doesn't know this because for some reason his headshot and resume didn't make it to the office, or more accurately was rejected. Great power, responsibility. Let's go. He helps Spider-Man India save the captain. Yay. Nope, it actually makes more holes appear, and they're bigger, and suddenly this universe, this reality is doomed because Miles disrupted a canon event. The task force shows up with like these weird machines. They're gonna try their best to fix the reality, but it's kind of a crapshoot. This was the moment where this spider person was supposed to go through a tragic transformative event, and Miles saved the day, and he wasn't even supposed to be there to stop it. So now suddenly Oscar Isaac, Spider-Man 2099, has called everybody in, including Miles, to headquarters in Nueva, New York. And that's where we get the hundreds of new spider people in the background. We get amazing fun references. The ultimate cartoon Spider-Man is there. Sun Spider is there. It even gets like a good quippy line about quippy lines. Again, kind of proving the point, the standard that's being pushed against here, the status quo of Spider-Man. It was something about like, do you think we mask our pain with comedy? Or do we use it as a crutch? Get it? Because I use crutches. Like, it was like, oh man, you doing okay? All the references, all the fun, the pointing meme comes back. Yay, right? No, we live in a spider-society. We're also introduced to Spider-Bite, a virtual avatar Spider-Man. Her spider Sona is virtual, but she is working from home. Spider-Man horse is there, and horse is there. Penny Parker. Check out Centaur World if you didn't get that joke, and check out my videos about Centaur World. Plug. Peter B. Parker is back and he's got his baby. I wish they had done something a little different with Peter B. Parker, but the story's not done yet, so I'm reserving that judgment, because it was like the only other time I was really confused. We meet Spider-Man 2099. He's really not happy that Miles is there. Miles gets a day pass. The only other person we see with a day pass is Peter B. Parker's baby. It's so uncomfortable, all those little signs, and seeing Miles piece that together. Miles is just given a 24-hour pass, which is something they give to children. It's a great reunion. I feel like it's coming in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I wish Peter B. Parker had a little more. One of the only times like I was confused on information. This is when we learn Spider-Man 2099 has recruited Peter B. Parker to help them with the task force stuff. And we learned that Peter B. Parker has seen firsthand, if we can't correct a reality that skipped a canon Spider-Man event, the universe just goes away. I thought we were implying that Peter B. Parker and his baby is all that's left of his reality and something happened there. Furthermore, when we get the revelation that Miles Morales isn't meant to be Spider-Man, I thought that baby being born because Peter B. Parker went to a different universe to meet Miles, and that's when he realized he did want to be a father. I thought the baby was another anomaly, and she still could be. If we're going to keep driving that point home, which is beautiful and lovely, doesn't that mean that technically the baby shouldn't exist? I have a lot of questions, and again, I feel like a lot of these are clues to be paid off and set up for things later. Again, why aren't we going after Spot and helping him out? That way we don't get all these holes and glitches. Why is the suit so freaking creepy, but he's also a vampire? Eddie Brock getting manipulated by Venom is also a fixed canon plot point. That could be taken as a joke because as we speak, the next Spider-Man game is literally going to do that. Like, oh, if you're going to have a Spider-Man story, you gotta have Venom at some point. He's like the Joker to the Spider-Man's Batman. It could be a meta joke on that. What if this isn't per se a Spider-Man that we're talking to, but 2099 Venom or 2099 symbiote possessed, venomized 2099 Spider-Man? That might be cool. Anyway, this is the task force. Gwen can't talk to you because you were bitten by a spider that was brought into your dimension from another one. That dimension, by the way, doesn't have a Spider-Man. The Chris Pine Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse died only because of you. We're not blaming Kingpin, the Spot, the Collider. He's blaming Miles. And now that he's a Spider-Man, there's fixed things that need to happen. And again, I can't wait for this to pay off because one of the most touching parts of Into the Spider-Verse is learning that the tragedy of Spider-Man, the trauma of loss, the pain of grief, losing a loved one is something that unites all the spider people Into the Spider-Verse. It's a beautiful message. You are not alone. It's one of the most beautiful parts of Into the Spider-Verse. And now it's become this cold, and as the movie points out, algorithm of spider people. You need to go through this trauma to be Spider-Man. And I think we're going to learn, no, you don't. I hope that's part of it, is you don't need trauma to be a good person. It's not just the loss of an uncle or a loved one that does it. You need to lose again. According to this Spider-Man algorithm that 2099 has seen throughout all the webs of the timeline and the multiverse, if you are close to the captain of the police, you will lose him. Spider-Man India was supposed to lose the captain of the police there, and now his universe is probably going to collapse, or is at risk of collapsing, because you saved somebody, which is already really messed up. The butterfly effect screwed everyone. Very Life is Strange. Well, my dad's about to be the police captain. Miguel just looks at him and goes, yeah, I know, and puts him in a cage. You're going to be in timeout until your dad dies because it has to happen, and I don't trust you not to interfere. What about Gwen? Her dad's a captain. Yeah, Gwen knows this, and slowly Miles finds out that everybody knew this. Even Peter, his mentor Peter, Sweatpants Peter. And it's such a sobering moment after all the fun memes and references. Friggin' video game Spider-Man that voice actor got to do a moment. I haven't even played the Spider-Man PS4 game, and I was like, good for you, guy. Like, that's super cool. After all that fun, now Miles is completely alone in a conglomeration of the most spider people, the most spider references we've ever seen. They knew that this was going to happen to Miles, and he's all alone. You finally found a community, and they reject you. openly. All that fun and all those references becomes isolation and then becomes chaos. And that chaos is ignited by rock and roll. Either you have to like have some sort of silly twist with Spider-Punk, either he's a little hypocrite and a poser, which would have been funny, or he needs to do something to burn the Spider Society to the ground, and he does. He's the only one who has his back and reminds him, palms, break the fucking barrier that's holding you down and get out of here. And Miles does. He's tired of people telling him who he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to do. And I want to shake the hand of the person who pitched this idea. Somehow they made a reverse what's up danger. Danger up what's. Instead of Miles taking a leap of faith down off of a building, he is now ascending up into the sky. And instead of pursuing a spider team to join and help them, he's running away from and misleading an army of spider people. It's an amazing chase action scene. There's tons of fun, don't get me wrong, but the chaos consumes all of it. Every time I catch myself like giggling or laughing or enjoying something, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are all dicks, and you just let Miles be othered by scary vampire spider daddy, and I'm pissed. I'm pissed as hell. I'm pissed at Gwen. I'm pissed at Peter. I'm pissed at Penny. Even Penny is just like, I'm sorry, man, but like, there's nothing you can do. I know it's the pain of experience, and it's the pessimism that comes from pain. You had to go through that pain. That pain had to happen. It feels almost unhealthy. He still does that leap. It's the dead opposite of What's Up Danger, even down to the concept. The lyrics of What's Up Danger, like, don't tell me the odds. I don't care. Courage is acting despite fear. And here we are. You are restrained and confined until this terrible thing that you probably could stop from happening happens. And there's something about that. Literally everything was turned upside down in a shot that very much felt reminiscent to Black Panther, right? When Killmonger's on the throne. Our world is turned upside down, preparing us for all these revelations and stuff, right? It just feels like the intention of these stories is how Miles maneuvers around what a Spider-Man story is supposed to have. As we have this chase happen, like seeing Miguel go from already kind of like just scary, like he's already very like powerful. You can be handsome and terrifying. You learn about his backstory. You learn that he tried to insert himself into a universe where he had a family and had happiness, and all he did was doom them all because he destroyed that reality by interfering with it. So I'm hoping for more expansion on that, and expansion on him. Also show Jet Feet. I know like he's part vampire and all this other stuff, but there's something feral in his movements, and there's something unnerving about his suit. It's like organic and robotic. It feels like, what if that symbiote were to attach itself to the Iron Spider suit? The shoulder touch comes back, which the palm thing also calls back to the hey at the end of Into the Spider-Verse. It's perfect. Miles breaks away. So reverse What's Up Danger. We get bits, we get gags, we get Donald Glover in a freaking Prowler suit, which, I mean, what a waste of money if you don't use that at some point in a movie, right? And he makes it to a thing called the go home machine. It takes your DNA, finds your dimension, and sends you back there. The machine's about to send him off. Spider Bite could stop the process, but chooses not to. And I wouldn't call this confusion. I thought, oh, what if she saw where he was going and went, oh, well, problem solved. But no, oh man, I like how the storm really like imposes over the lighting, and now everything's like eerie and green. Like it feels like a whole different world because of the weather change. Like that's really cool. Animation's really neat. No, animation is the devil's medium. Pictures should not be moving and making sounds. That's the universe where the spider came from. This is the universe without a Spider-Man, the year without a Santa Claus. Miles comes home to his room, tells his mom that he's Spider-Man, but his mom's making weird comments about his hair and doesn't know who Spider-Man is. He went to the universe where there is no Spider-Man, but there is an Uncle Aaron, but there's no Mr. Morales. He's dead. New Uncle Aaron knows something's up, kidnaps Miles after playing music in the exact same shots in the exact same way he did in Into the Spider-Verse, which was rude, by the way. This Miles Morales, braided Miles Morales. Important because, again, like I said, I'm pretty sure the kid who almost got bit by Spider 42 was that Miles with those braids. Those braids will haunt me for the next 300 days or so. Earth 42 Miles is the new Prowler. Miles is now trapped, tied to a punching bag, just like Peter B. Parker was in Into the Spider-Verse, by the Miles who was wronged. I don't think it's, I'm gonna take your dad, but I think it's, this other Miles is gonna feel the same pain I did, which would be an interesting take, a twist on the Spider-Man task force thing. The spider people have been telling Miles he has to feel this pain, and now this other Miles is going to make him feel this pain. Oh, you still get to keep your dad? Huh. Miles is screwed, and good old Gwen gets sent back home for trying to help Miles. I'm trying to remember the specifics, but I remember Gwen and Peter both get sent to their respective homes. Gwen doesn't have a way to travel. She goes home to gather her things, and she runs into her dad, waiting for her to come home. It's very ripe in its energy, and I really love it. Gwen finally decides to have that talk with her dad about being Spider-Man. I didn't kill Peter. What's the difference between me and you? I need to help people. If you don't do what you do, more bad people would be in your position of authority, which I appreciate taking that angle. This mask, this costume, my power, that is what I can do. I can help people. And he understands, and he just says, I'm quitting the force, by the way, right now. And that stops him, supposedly. I don't think they would mess with us if they're going to spell it out that way, but it supposedly stops him from then being the police captain who's destined to die if they're close to Spider-Man. There's a way to change these canon moments without disrupting the universe, and it seems to be coming out as Spider-Man to this important person in your life. And I really love that. And again, it changes things. It's interesting. Why do we have to keep our secret identity from the people that we love? Can this story evolve? And what could that change? And it's exciting and engaging to think about. As a longtime fan of Spider-Man and all these different stories and all these different heroes and different variations, it also makes me hopeful. I feel like I'm not some sort of knowledge person anymore because anything could happen. Because, oh boy, have we caught Gwen several times with our webbing, and Miles Morales is trying to have it all. And what kills Gwen Stacy? A Spider-Man who tries to have it all. So I really hope that we're going very far off the beaten track, but it also leaves so many possibilities. Did this really change anything? It almost uses my knowledge against me while also freeing me of expectation, and I really like exploring that. So with the knowledge that you could potentially save your captain from the captain's curse, Gwen then reassembles the old team with the new team to save Miles and stop Spider-Man 2099. And that's where it leaves us. I've seen a lot of people upset at that. I was kind of hoping like, oh, we're gonna finish and wrap up this thought, and then that's gonna lead us into the final movie. It just ends like sharp. I feel like a lot of people forgot that it's in two parts. I even kind of forgot in the moment and then went, oh yeah, ending with like Prowler Miles is super interesting and engaging. But I feel like almost all of us were already like a sealed deal on getting another movie ticket. I'm super excited though. Like it worked, like well played. This is art. This is a painting that goes on for 2 hours and tells a captivating story. I liked what they did. I hope they do a little more with Ben Reilly. I feel like it was just kind of a bit, but it was still a nice bit. I really like what we've set up, and I'm excited for the execution. I'm just also nervous because now I'm like, stick the landing. Like, I also want more from the Spot. He's the guy who got the bagel thrown at him. The bagel joke is so funny. It's such a great little moment in Into the Spider-Verse, and now it's just this cataclysmic catalyst. Band name, called it. It's gonna be interesting to see how they're going to balance Prowler Miles and the Spot and Spider-Man 2099. Again, any other team, I'd be kind of like, they've tried to do multiple villains before and it doesn't always work. I'm excited to see them tackle that. If anyone could skirt that disaster, it'd be a Spider-Verse movie, I hope. There's almost a cliche in a third Spider-Man movie with multiple villains. I love this idea of Miles Morales versus canon. I know that there's going to be a live action Miles Morales movie coming up. I like to think by Miles providing a framework now for a Miles Morales Spider-Man as opposed to Miles being the abnormality, right? He will become status quo. There is a Spider-Man who can be Miles Morales and you're looking at him. I want to feel like that opens the door for a live action Miles Morales instead of Miles Morales tumbles out of a tube and suddenly he's live action and it's like a reverse Page Master. I'm not a cartoon. They could still do that and it would be interesting, but end of the day, I love this like constant questioning of like, does Spider-Man always have to do the same thing in this unique, one-of-a-kind Spider-Man story? Spider-Verse broke so many expectations, played with so many tropes and concepts, but still like kept those grounded moments. Now here we are in this beautiful, unique art style, whole new subgenre of not only the medium of animation, but comic book stories. It's posing the question, why do we have to be the same as everyone else? And I really love it. I really hope that they stick this landing. If we're going to keep with that meta lens too, like the organic nature of Gwen having a heart-to-heart with her dad, embracing the fact that she's Spider-Woman, this healthier version of being a spider person keeps her dad safe. I really love that. I said it earlier, but it feels like the evolution of Spider-Man storytelling while still honoring and respecting the tropes that built comic book stories. But it feels like a new chapter. It feels like a challenge of the status quo. Will Miles' dad, or even Gwen's dad, still be safe by the end of this? What about Gwen? Like, is she still in jeopardy because of what we know about Gwen Stacy's? It feels like I can have fun with my knowledge and also throw it all out the window and go on this unexpected journey in this ride. It's that strange feeling of like you need to sacrifice, and like, yes, there will always be sacrifices. You're sacrificing your time whenever you make a decision to be somewhere else. There's always going to be sacrifices, but I love challenging that concept of, well, at least let me try. It's not like he's wanting to go back in time and save his dad. It's all assumptions, algorithms. Since we've played around with the concept of Marvel movies, of Marvel comics, of Spider-Man, of superhero tropes, here we are now getting to like dig deeper. I also hope that Otherworld Uncle Aaron steps up for both versions of Miles. That's something I really want to see, because he didn't attack Miles, he captured him for the Prowler. I wonder if Uncle Aaron will still have a soft spot for him, or he'll look at Miles and see the boy before losing his father. Or who knows? Maybe he's like Prowler Batman, because Prowler, I remember reading a comic in like a big like compendium thing that my grandpa got me at Barnes and Noble, where like the Prowler pretended to be Spider-Man and showed up at a party with Peter Parker in it, so people would stop thinking that something's up or he might be Spider-Man, and people are like, oh, why did I think you were even Spider-Man? And so what if that's like the twist? Like Miles the Prowler might actually be doing good, or at the very least capable of it. And I don't know, it'll be really interesting to see Miles not only clash with 2099, but clash with himself and another version of himself at that. I'm really excited. I'd love to do a video more about like my theories. So let me know in the comment section down below if you want more things that I missed. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, ring the bell, check the settings, set them to all, blah, blah, blah. I have my gaming channel where I stream Mondays and Thursdays, linked in the description. My merch store is in the description as well. You could donate there, donate here, the super thanks if you want. And speaking of the description, there's also a link there to a card that'll send you to resources for social awareness, education, mental health crisis lines, Trevor Project resources, things like that, should you or someone you know need them. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Spider-Verse. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd love to do more animation movies as they come out. I had a great time doing like Encanto, Puss in Boots 2, and then I went back and watched Puss in Boots 1. I've been thinking about doing the Mario movies, so let me know. Hope everyone's staying safe. Hope to see you next time I upload or go live. Wear a mask if you go out. Be mindful of others. Remember to take care of yourselves, please.